Inter Milan look for 3 precious points against Real Madrid. Man City looking to book their place in the knockout stages. Liverpool face Atalanta. Ajax face Midtjylland. Bayern Munich against RB Salzburg, and much more. As we preview Wednesday's action, we got Jimmy Conrad with our betting tips, and of course, James Benge to join the show, which begins right now. Welcome, everybody. Wednesday Champions League preview. And of course, I can't do this without my best man, my brother, Jimmy Conrad. Jimmy C, I'm feeling the Marseille shirt. How are you, bud?
I'm doing well. ¿Qué tal, hermano? I tried my Spanish there. It didn't work out so well. I always get shy when I try to speak Spanish. I'm trying to learn it, Luis. And when it comes for the big moment to say something, I'm like, I'm going to probably make a mistake, and then I'm ashamed.
No, don't be ashamed. I want it. Me and you will get to it. Forget Duolingo.
We'll get to it.
Me and you will get to it. All right, Jimmy, good to have you, brother. James Benge will join us later on to really give us all the analysis, everybody, on Wednesday's action. But we always begin, obviously, with that easy money. Jimmy, what you got for us for Wednesday? Because there's a lot of good games.
There's a lot of good games, a lot of good value on William Hill. The one that I'm looking at, Robert Lewandowski to score. Obviously, we can make a strong argument he's the best player in the world at the moment. Bayern to win, and both teams to score. RB Salzburg does know how to score a lot of goals. They lost 6-2 the last time they played on match day 3. That's plus 150. So Lewandowski to score, Bayern to win, both teams to score. I like that one a lot. Bobby Firmino to score anytime, plus 160. Liverpool taking out Atalanta. Mo Salah is supposed to be back on the team as well. Maybe Firmino drops into that 10 spot because obviously they have some injuries elsewhere. Firmino just scored on the weekend. I think his confidence is going to be good. I like that value a lot. Then we're going to go to Romelu Lukaku. This is called the Jimmy Special, everybody. I picked somebody to score, both teams to score, and Inter to win. I know that Lewandowski was kind of part of the Jimmy Special too, but I like this value a little bit better. So Lukaku to score against Real Madrid, both teams to score, and Inter to win is plus 400. I've done this twice with Lukaku before, and he's never let me down. So I don't know if third time's a charm or third time's where it's going to get unlucky. I don't know, but I like Lukaku. He was big time against Torino this past weekend. I think he's going to be up for it. And then for my parlay, I like adding a little parlay for you guys. If you have Inter Milan to beat Real Madrid, and this is the tricky one, that's why I'm wearing this kit right now, Marseille to beat Porto. If you have those two in a parlay, it's plus 513. Now, you can already tell, I think Inter's going to do the business against Madrid, who are a little bit all over the place. And I think without Sergio Ramos, I think Inter's going to do the business. Lukaku's going to, I already went through that. But Marseille have yet to score a goal in the group stages. 3 games, no goals. Porto slapped them around last time, 3-0. I think they're going to be up for some redemption. I think they have some pride on the line. And I think AVB, Andres Villas-Boas, the manager for Marseille, his job is on the line too. They need to win this game, especially at home. And I think they're going to be up for the challenge. I like that value, plus 513.
I love all of these. I have a few special ones. If you were to pick one that you were like, listen, this is the one. Is there one in particular? Are you happy with all of them? Is there one? Because I'm looking at the Liverpool-Atalanta one, and I think to your point about Firmino feeling confident, I wonder what the odds would even be, because I don't know why, but I feel like Atalanta is going to steal a draw here.
Maybe. So the one that I feel the best about, I mean, there's 3 certainties in life, right? Death, taxes, and Robert Lewandowski scoring. So, I like that one. Bayern's definitely going to beat RB Salzburg, even though Salzburg needs to get something out of this. I just feel like with a team like Salzburg, Jesse Marsch, who we know and love, right? American managing over in Austria, he has his teams go for it. They don't sit back, and I love that about his teams. However, when you play a team like Bayern, they've got so much quality like they did last time. If you remember in match day 3, Salzburg was up 2-1. Then all of a sudden, Bayern turned it up a little bit, and they scored 5 goals to win 6-2. So, I think there's going to be a lot of goals in this one. I think plus 150 is probably the easiest of the easy money. That would be my number 1 bet for sure.
Yeah, there you have it. I think you said it right there. Robert Lewandowski will score. Bayern Munich will win. And just take the journey from then on. Jimmy Conrad with his easy money bets. Jimmy staying right here. You stay right here, because after this, James Benge will join and we will really break it down as Wednesday kicks off in the Champions League. Welcome back, everybody. Jimmy Conrad still with us. And we welcome, man, I feel like it's been so long, James Benge to the show once again. Benge, how are you, bud?
It's so good to be back. I mean, you're not the only person who feels like you haven't seen me in ages. I got PS5, so no one has seen me.
You have PS5?
Oh, no.
Oh, I hate you.
Yeah. I don't know. Can we get Benge off the show? I don't know if I want him on the show anymore.
Yeah.
He's out. Go back to your PS5.
Exactly. Well, how is it?
Oh man, it's so good. I'm playing the Spider-Man game. I don't know if any of you played the original. It is just flying around New York it's just the coolest thing. I imagine it's just what your life is like, Luis, being in the
Yep.
It's the same difference, really, isn't it?
Yeah, it's basically a Peruvian Spider-Man, not doing a lot of jumping. Absolutely amazing. James Benge, welcome to the show. Jimmy Conrad has started us off with his beautiful, easy money bets. But Wednesday, we begin with a really, I feel, a much needed victory that Inter needs as they face Real Madrid. When we look at Group B, Real Madrid actually is in third place, Inter Milan in fourth. So no matter what, one of these people need this win. We had Jimmy talk about it from Easy Bets. James, let's begin with you. Inter Milan, they need this win, right? I mean, it's a big one against Real Madrid. How do you see it?
It's encouraging that pretty much all their attack is clicking at the moment. Alexis Sanchez had a really good game at the weekend. So did Lukaku. We know Lukaku will have a really good game. And Lautaro as well. And this is, I mean, every time you think, well, this is a tough game for Real Madrid, this is the game where it all goes wrong, they prove you wrong. But no Sergio Ramos against that attack. You have to look at it and think, this is the right time for Inter to be playing this team. I don't know if that's enough because, you know, the thing with Real Madrid, and it feels like lazy analysis, it feels redundant, but it's true. They drag these things out of the bag. Whenever you think this is the worst time to play Real Madrid, they put a performance in that makes you wonder why you doubted them in the first place. But that the defense hasn't been good enough anyway, and you take away its cornerstone. Varane is not the same defender when you put him next to anyone but Ramos. And I look at this and I think it's Inter's to win. I think it's so hard to call this game. So hard.
Yeah, it's very hard, especially when you think about the injuries that Real Madrid has. But again, Inter Milan has not looked 100%. Jimmy, you talked about it from an easy money perspective. What do you see here from an analysis point of view?
Well, I agree with Benge. I think that Madrid are somehow cagey enough to know how to have success in this competition. They've obviously proven that, winning more trophies than anybody else. But I will say that without Sergio Ramos, and maybe even more importantly, no Casemiro and no Fede Valverde. So you're going to have Kroos in the middle of midfield. You have Modric, and you got two guys that, listen, we all know and love, and we think they're fantastic players, but are they covering the same amount of ground as Valverde and Casemiro? No, they're not. And they're not going to be able to protect that back four. I think Romelu Lukaku, Lautaro, and this reemergence, this renaissance of Alexis Sanchez, who seems to pop his head up out of the water and say, hey, I'm still a good player every once in a while. It's nice. It's nice to see him kind of have some fun. He looks like he's actually having fun out there. What I really liked, if anybody didn't catch the Inter Milan-Torino game this past weekend, Inter were down 2-0. And then all of a sudden, we've seen this with some of the other top clubs, Bayern Munich in particular against RB Salzburg in the last Champions League match day. They turn it on. All of a sudden, they're going to just suffocate the other team with this high pressure. Torino couldn't handle it. RB Salzburg couldn't handle it against Bayern Munich. And then they scored 4 goals in like 20 minutes and the game was over. And I think we can see something similar with Real Madrid, who are just, they're not the same team at the moment. Benzema's not been 100%. Eden Hazard still can't. He's like the new Alexis Sanchez. You're like, what happened to this guy? He used to be a really talented player. So I think Inter Milan can take advantage of it. I think they're in a good run of form. And because of those no CDMs, I think there's going to be some pockets in front of that back four that Inter can really take advantage of.
Well, staying in Group B, we talk about these giants of European football, but really it's Mönchengladbach that actually is leading the group, and they host Shakhtar Donetsk. And in match day 3, they absolutely just destroyed them 6-0. You would imagine, despite the break, that would be a similar narrative, Jimmy, when you look at Gladbach looking to continue to stay top of Group B.
I mean, Gladbach's got to be kicking themselves that they only have 5 points at the top of the group because they dropped leads in their first 2 match days to Inter Milan and Real Madrid. They had it. And then, really late in each game, they gave up some goals, and now they dropped 4 points. They should have 9. I'll be honest. Borussia Mönchengladbach should have 9, and they should be in complete control of this group. But I think they showed their quality against Shakhtar Donetsk in match day 3 in Ukraine, by the way, which is no easy feat. They scored 6 goals, as we mentioned. Alassane Plea was the big star. He had a hat trick and an assist in that one. He's out for this game. And I think that makes Mönchengladbach a little bit different, maybe a little bit more predictable in the attack. But you got Marcus Thuram, you got Lars Stindl in there, kind of running point behind the top. And I still think they have enough quality. Shakhtar seems a little uneven. And despite them having some names and obviously having success in Europe, I just don't see them getting past Mönchengladbach in Germany.
Benge, do you concur? Can Shakhtar maybe do something here, or is this just a win for Gladbach?
I really, really like what I saw from Shakhtar in the earlier games in the group, and there's some really good players. I mean, we know what Shakhtar's about. It's that merging of a Ukrainian solid defense with a that Brazilian flair out wide, and I think Tyson's available, and he's fantastic. He's been great for years. I really like the winger Tete as well. Having said that, if you've lost 6-0, there's clearly a huge gulf, and I think we're probably not quite giving Gladbach the respect they deserve, because it just sort of, the fourth team from Germany. And we all sort of thought, they'll be, the Europa League entrants. But they've been, yes, they've given up points, but they've been better in every single one of their games in the group stage so far this season. And I look at this and I kind of think they're probably the most likely qualifiers. As Jimmy says, no player, but Marcus Thuram was great on international duty as well. I really like that team. I think they'll do enough tomorrow, and then everything's in their hands, isn't it? I think they'll get the points they need to get out of the group.
Yeah, and it's a really tight group. Gladbach with 5 points, Shakhtar Donetsk 4, Real Madrid as well, but a different goal difference. Inter Milan trailing with 2 points. Let's move over to Group D. Group D, Liverpool leading the way with 9 points. Ajax, I'm wearing the shirt, by the way, that Edwin van der Sar gave me.
Wow.
To go. So,
wow. Look at him flexing on us, Benge.
Actually,
Benge is flexing with the PS5. You're flexing with these, handcrafted goods made by Edwin van der Sar. And I've just got this hand-me-down Marseille kit on. So
you tackled Lionel Messi in Copa America. You win every single.
Thank you for bringing that up, Luis. I appreciate it.
Liverpool is leading the group with 9 points. Ajax with 4, as well as Atalanta, but a lower goal difference, -1. Midtjylland, obviously, with no points, no wins, 3 straight losses. You would think that the narrative would be similar as we look into match day 4. James Benge, Liverpool wins this one. They're in the knockout stage. I don't know why. I told this to Jimmy earlier in the podcast. I feel like Atalanta will steal a point. How do you see it?
Not a chance. This Liverpool team, my God, they are as good as I've ever seen them. Against Leicester, what was so impressive was this was the worst possible opponent. This was Jamie Vardy against Fabinho, who's not the quickest and has a dodgy thigh. And they just were like, no, we're going to absolutely throttle you. You're not having the ball. Fabinho, his first 50 passes all found their man. We do not talk enough about how Fabinho is one of the best players in the world. This guy is a phenomenon, and I think that defense will be absolutely fine with him there. And then going forward, man, Firmino, he's starting to get in those positions again, and we all joke about how many chances he needs, but he will score plenty this season. Jota, Salah, and Salah's back. That's another. Firmino, Mane, Jota. That is a phenomenal front line. I know there's all these injuries adding up, but I still look at this team and I think they're the best team in England. They may well be the best team in Europe in footballing terms. I don't think Atalanta will get absolutely pummeled like they did at home, but I do think they don't really have much of a chance. And I'm well aware I could look a complete idiot.
The only thing that I would argue is maybe Bayern Munich has something to say about the best team in Europe. But yes, Liverpool, like I said to Jimmy and Heath right after the Leicester game, it was the best performance I've seen them do this whole season. Jimmy, Liverpool, Atalanta, you talked a little bit about it. You actually did mention as well, concurring with James Benge, about Bobby Firmino feeling confident getting that goal. Now, just the embarrassment of riches that Jurgen Klopp has. But, sometimes weird things happen. How do you see this one? Straightforward 3 points for Liverpool, or can Atalanta do something?
I think Atalanta can do something. They're a little bit of a Jekyll and Hyde team, especially domestically. Like, I don't know what's going on with them. This past weekend, they drew 0-0 against a team that just got promoted. That's the first time they've had a 0-0 result in over a year. So
they didn't concede a goal, though.
I guess there's something in that, but they shouldn't concede a goal against a team that just got promoted. So I don't really know what to make of this team. Obviously, they have game changers with Papu Gomez, who we've fawned over on this podcast and will continue to do so. They're number 10. Duvan Zapata, we're also big fans of. You can quiet those guys, though, and I think they maybe have lacked some of that, I don't know, that urgency, let's say in all areas. They used to be able to beat you in so many different ways, and now I feel like their game has become a little bit more predictable. So I don't know what Atalanta team's going to show up. And that makes me a little bit nervous from a wagering perspective. But to Benja's point, that front four from Liverpool is excellent, especially the game being at Anfield. I don't see Liverpool losing this game. I think the one problem, and this is a great problem to have, is that because Diogo Jota has been so good and he scored a bunch of goals against Atalanta in the last match day, how do you find room for him and Firmino and Salah and Mane on the field at the same time? And I feel like they're still trying to work out what the best movement and rhythm is between those four players if you want to get them all out on the field. I don't know if Firmino's going to have to make way. He made way last time they played against Atalanta, which would be a shame given how well he played against Leicester. And then if Salah does come back into the team, like who plays the 10 spot really? I think it'll be Firmino makes the most sense. But I mean, it's a great problem to have. It must be nice to be a Liverpool supporter at the moment.
Yeah, it must be very nice. I mean, I'm sure Klopp also has an eye on the weekend. They do have the early game away at Brighton. Granted, Brighton, with all due respect, but it is the early game, so that, turnaround of matches can be tricky. But we all see, well, both of you see a win for Liverpool. I'll try and be optimistic for Atalanta. Maybe they get a point. Ajax, Midtjylland. When Ajax faced Midtjylland, traveled to Midtjylland, they literally had like 3 people, the water boy. They had nobody. There was a big issue, obviously, with COVID, but they still got that very emphatic win. Now they're a little bit stronger. Tadic, of course, is back. Neres as well. You would think that Ajax should take care of business against a Midtjylland side who's very brave, very resilient, but without wins. What do you see here, James Benge?
I just see this kid, Anders Dreyer, who has been, I mean, I remember talking to you at the start of the whole group stage, and you just done a big piece on Midtjylland, and it was like, it's so great to have you here. Don't get your hopes up. You're not winning anything. If you get a point, you've done really well. And that has totally been true, even though I think they maybe been better than the results suggest. Anders Dreyer is a really good player. I think he's someone that, if I was a team in Serie A or any of the top 5 leagues, I'd be looking at this guy going, playing off the right, cutting in onto his left foot. He was giving Liverpool all sorts of problems. I loved his goal against Ajax. I think because this is sort of one of those games where you just sort of look at it and you say, actually, a full strength Ajax are going to kind of steamroller. I just want to keep an eye out for some interesting players, and I really like Dreyer. One to keep an eye on, and I know Midtjylland are well financed enough that they can sort of demand a high price, or who knows, maybe just goes to Brentford anyway. But this guy's really good, and I think we may be hearing a lot more about him in the coming months and years.
Yeah. So as we look at that group, if Liverpool win, they get those 12 points, secure their knockout stage position. If Ajax indeed beat Midtjylland, which you would think that would happen, then they stay second, and then all to play for at least second and third for match day 5. When we come back, we will wrap up the rest of Wednesday's action, including another Premier League side, Manchester City, who are probably looking to, do a little bit better than their game against Tottenham. We'll be right back after this. Welcome back, everybody. Before James Benge runs away to do some PS5 Spider-Man action, let's keep rolling here. And we talk about now Group A. Group A, the defending champion of the Champions League, Bayern Munich. This is a good game. A good game, Jimmy Conrad. We talked about it, obviously, from a betting standard. Bayern Munich against RB Salzburg. Is there any way that Salzburg can get anything, even though they lost 6-2 last time around?
No.
Can I
just requote Benge from before? Not a chance. I love Salzburg. I love what Jesse Marsch is doing. Like I said a little bit earlier in the podcast, I love that his teams go for it and they try to go toe to toe with teams. And I think they learn a lot about themselves and how to get better. So I like that mindset, but I just think that Bayern Munich has way too much class. I know that they're missing some players. Alphonso Davies is out. Lucas Hernandez also got out. So they don't have Alaba's going out wide left and they're, makeshifting it. But when you have teams of that quality, other players slot in. Javi Martinez has been dropping in. And I know that Werder Bremen tried to expose his speed a little bit, but I think they'll protect him a little bit, maybe not play as high of a line. Manuel Neuer will probably stand on his head and make some saves, as he does. He's been very good and in fine form. I like Salzburg. They got some special players. I don't know if Patsendaka, who they're number 9, I think he's hurt still, which is a big loss for them because he really creates some unpredictability up top. But yeah, Bayern's got way too much. And the one thing I think that we need to take into consideration, and you mentioned it right before the break, is that Bayern Munich, Liverpool, and Manchester City are all on 9 points. If they win this game in match day 4, they're going to win their groups. And that's going to allow them to really take it easy on match day 5 and match day 6. And that's super important given how congested the schedule is. So I really think a lot of these teams are going to go for it here, try to get the win, and then be able to rest for the next 2 weeks.
Yeah, absolutely. And James, if Bayern win on Wednesday, aside from winning the group, then they can really relax and rotate, especially because the next one up is they have to visit Atletico Madrid. And if they don't do something against Moscow, of course, things get very tricky. But again, I think we can all agree, James, Bayern Munich has taken this one.
Yeah, I really liked what Salzburg did for about 80 minutes. And I think that maybe they could just be difficult for 90, but they'll earn the right to lose 3-1 then.
And they have some, Dominic Szoboszlai, they have some really great players. But yeah, we don't see anything else other than that. And I guess, what about Atletico Madrid, everybody? James, let's begin with you. They just, earned a historic win against Barcelona. They're now at home to Lokomotiv Moscow. They're not out of the woods by any means. They only have 4 points, so they really need this victory. How do you see this one, especially after the joy that happened last weekend? Would there maybe be a little bit of a hangover here? How do you see it?
Well, see, I only have questions about Atletico Madrid. I feel like I have no answers. In La Liga, they're brilliant. And in this competition, they've been pretty abysmal by their own standards. I know they've got 4 points and they're almost certainly going to get out of the group, but we always knew they were going to get out of the group. And I think they've conceded more goals, like 5 more goals in the Champions League than in La Liga.
Yeah, they've conceded 7 goals in the Champions League, only scored 4. 7 goals to concede in the Champions League is quite a lot.
Yeah, they were poor again away to Moscow. I'm just not convinced by them, up to their own standards. Having said that, this is another one of those games where you just think they kind of really need to turn up and play at 80% to get the 3 points, and that's all that really matters. But I'm underwhelmed by Atleti in the Champions League, and to be honest, I haven't seen as much as I'd have liked of them in La Liga. So this is kind of where I'm forming my opinions, and ultimately it's where their season is going to be defined, probably. Yeah,
and from that opinion to an Atleti fan who obviously also is a very realistic one, though. How do you see this one, Jimmy? Because after this one, here comes Bayern Munich. So how do you see this game?
Well, I think it's very important for them to get the full 3 points. I think they realize that because they don't want to leave it to chance, let's say, against Bayern Munich, even though we could argue that if Bayern does win today, and we expect them to do so, I don't think they're going to bring 100% full squad to Madrid to take them on. So Atleti could benefit from that and probably will moving forward. I'm going to take a little bit of the shine off the win against Barcelona. Yes, it was historic. The first time that Diego Simeone's ever beat Barcelona in La Liga. Barcelona had some chances. They had some decent chances, and Atleti did what they had to do. I think it's been trademarked, I think, around the world that 1-0 win is a Diego Simeone type win. So they know how to kind of grind out results. You just hope that they kind of play above and don't play to the level of their competition today. I think that's the biggest issue. But the emergence of Joao Felix, he's been fantastic in both competitions. Angel Correa, the number 10, is really starting to emerge as one of the guys that Joao really likes to combine with. And as long as they stay close together, then I think that'll allow Llorente and Carrasco to really join in as well, and maybe get the more of the outside backs into the attack. I think that's part of the problem. I'm still always kind of reference the RB Leipzig loss in the Champions League quarterfinals last year, where RB Leipzig just played them off the park, and really Diego Simeone got outmanaged by Julian Nagelsmann. And I think he's learning from that. He's got to find that blend of not being too defensive and allowing his talented players to actually showcase their talent. And I think we're seeing a nice mix of that. Luis Suarez is going to be out, unfortunately. Lucas Torreira is going to be out as well. But I still think that they're going to have enough to get past Lokomotiv. And they need to. If they really want to get into the knockout rounds, they have to win this game.
Yeah, and I think from a mental perspective, to get another victory without Luis Suarez is also nothing but a good thing. Let's wrap up now with Group C. We talked about Liverpool. We talked about Bayern Munich. Jimmy, of course, mentioned as well, these teams with 9 points, they win and they qualify and they win their group. Man City, who's, loss against Tottenham can be at least, healed, at least temporarily, if they get this victory and secure their place in the knockout stages and can fully focus in the Premier League, at least for the rest of 2020. James Benge, Manchester City leading that group with 9 points. Porto with 6. Olympiacos, who they're playing on Wednesday, with 3. Marseille with 0. How do you see this game? Man City surely will take care of business so they can fully focus in their domestic endeavors, right?
Yeah, and I mean, Pep Guardiola always comes across as someone that's a bit OCD. So maybe, like me, he will appreciate the symmetry of having 12 points in the Champions League and 12 points in the Premier League, because things are going a bit. You know what it is? I think this competition suits City a lot more because it lacks the intensity, and City lack intensity right now. There was no evidence of a press. This is a Pep Guardiola team. Against Tottenham Hotspur, they did not press. It's a bit mind-boggling, and I think that sort of suits the group stages of the Champions League, because you are just coming up against teams you don't really need to hit with the same intensity that you do a top-tier Premier League opponent. I mean, let's be honest, this is a group full of mid-table Premier League teams at best. This will be pretty comfortable. I think they've left Kevin De Bruyne behind, which suggests that they kind of know that even if they don't win the group this week, they'll win it the week after or the week after. There's just a lot that kind of doesn't quite convince. And I know that feels weird when they've won all their games 3-0 or 3 whatever in the group stages, but it doesn't feel like it's clicking right now. Of course, you still offer Guardiola a new contract because your whole club philosophy has been about getting this manager and seeing what he can achieve, but it's all a bit boring. Even when they win 3-0, it's like a kind of incredibly tedious romp to victory. Sorry that I can't muster more enthusiasm for talking about used to, I and everyone else in the world used to adore watching, but right now it's kind of like watching paint dry.
Yeah, I don't think you'll be invited to any Man City watch party anytime soon, but that's okay, I guess, because watching paint dry on television, who wants to see that? But I think you make a very good point. James makes a good point, Jimmy, about Man City, which is not so much about the group stage journey, but it's what they do after that. And that's where they really, that lack of fire really affects them. But mentally, definitely, like people like Gabriel Jesus and Sergio Aguero can gain some confidence if they score a few goals in this one. How do you see it? They'll take it home, right? These 3 points.
Yeah, no question. I think just to start with Olympiacos, they're without 2 of their best attacking players in Valbuena and El Arabi. That in itself is going to be a tall order. I think even if they were healthy, it was going to be a tall order. So yeah, this is pretty much one-way traffic, I think, for Manchester City. If you guys are interested in watching paint dry and 85% possession for a team, this is the game to watch. But I do think that the return of Sergio Aguero, I think, will come back into the number 9 spot. Raheem Sterling should come back into the team. So even without Kevin De Bruyne, they got some guys that really they need minutes. And this is a great game for them to get minutes and get sharp again. And when I look at Man City's schedule, it's a good time for them to really kind of get back on track domestically as well, and to use these Champions League games as a way to make that happen. They got Olympiacos. They play Burnley at home. They got Porto away. If they win this, though, they're probably going to send a much different squad. They got Fulham at home. They got Marseille at home. And then they go and finally have the Manchester derby in a couple weeks. So this is a good time for them to kind of really start to regain that form and that urgency and desire that Benge was discussing that they didn't have, because there is, I agree, and it's pretty evident to see there's a bit of a malaise that's kind of entered the team. And sometimes I liken it to, when a national team coach stays on too long, like we're seeing it with Yogi Löw now, and just to kind of get into the international game, like the German players just don't seem to respond to him in the same way. And I just feel like he's maybe been around too long and they need a new voice and something fresh. And maybe that's where City is now, but I feel like they gave him that deal so that Messi would come next summer. So I think there's a lot of, future plans with regard to why they did that.
That's exactly what happened. That contract arrived with a little mini Messi, right? Absolutely.
Just remember that our boss is a City fan, Luis, so we might want to re-record this.
No, because he's also a Brazil fan, so he has way too many good things going on for himself. Listen, let's finish up this group, because actually, everybody, I think that this is the game to watch, which is Marseille hosting Porto, and I'll tell you why. And my very, very much smarter colleagues will hopefully attest to, is the fact that ABB, Andre Villas-Boas, they haven't gotten one win, Marseille, all losses. They haven't scored. so much talent, so much creativity, and now they need to win this game. And they're hosting Porto, who's in second right now with 6 points. Jimmy, you're wearing the shirt. You know all too well about this team. We've talked about it extensively. How badly does Marseille need this, not just for the Champions League, but just for their season?
It's pride. We're just talking about simple pride. These players need to go out there and just perform. I don't think that they're really gelling well with their manager, Andres Villas-Boas. I think he puts them in very defensive mindset. One, I think verbally he's telling them the team shape that they work on, it's always like 4-5-1 or 5-4-1. And he's not like, he handcuffs his attacking players. And they have some really talented ones in Benedetto, Tovan, Sanson can obviously join the attack. You got Dimitri Payet. I mean, they got guys, and it's frustrating to watch as a Marseille supporter, just us being kind of listless, almost Manchester City-like, hey, when are you guys going to start to play? And so I think there's going to be some urgency here. I think that they're playing at home, and they know if they're not getting in the top two, right? So for them, it's like, how can we get third and try to get into the Europa League and maybe go on a run from there? That has to be the goal, but it starts here against Porto, who slapped them around on match day 3-0. They give up a couple early goals and never really found their footing. They need to be in this right from the get-go. They need to really put the pressure on Porto and let them know it's going to be a long game here in France this time around. But if they just drop back and let Porto do what they want, it's just going to be, I don't know what's going to happen ultimately, the end result, but it's not going to be pretty to watch. And I just think Marseille has more talent than that maybe that manager believes that they do. And he needs to release the hounds, as I like to say, and let them just go for it. Just play with some conviction, And I think that in itself would kind of get the supporter base a lot more excited about this Marseille team.
And you know what's really funny is that Marseille, the city itself, I know it well, is like it's anything but quiet. It's anything but like in your face. A very proud fan base, very loud, and they're very, very hungry for just, action. And it's funny that their team doesn't replicate that. James Benge, you know AVB well from obviously his days in the Premier League. What do you make of his career? He's still a very young manager with actually quite an interesting resume. But to Jimmy's point, he's kind of boring. Like there's no oomph. Sadly, that's what we're seeing from Marseille.
I think. Well, so obviously, working on these Champions League nights, quite often the first thing I see before the highlights is AVB's post-match press conference. And I mean, as Jimmy was alluding to, talk about talking a team down, looking at the squad list, this is, it's not a team that has anything to fear from Porto or Olympiacos. This is clearly the equal of those on paper, at least. And I think this thing with AVB is he does have this unique ability to make a rod for his own back, to be a little bit just clumsy in messaging. And I don't think every manager quite appreciates how much this all creates an atmosphere. It creates an atmosphere with supporters who, this is the purpose of press conferences, is to get your message out to your supporters. And if your message is that I don't think the team's very good, well, you're on a hiding to nothing. You can't sack a whole team. AVB, you're the one that will lose your job. I wonder, again, going back to what you were saying, is this, are they missing the fans at the Velodrome more than other clubs are missing? But then Porto at the Dragao and Olympiacos, they've both got these grounds where it is bouncing. It's a huge weapon for them. So I don't particularly see why Marseille should be any worse off. It's just got to that stage for me with AVB where he seems to be more of a negative than a positive. I still think he's an interesting coach. It's been a lot of times where he's been interesting, and I've thought, oh, he's nearly there. He's had a long time when he's been nearly there, young as he still may be. He's had Spurs, he's had Chelsea, and now Marseille, where you want to give him the chance, but he's kind of not really grasped it.
Yeah, I was thinking exactly what you said about, if there are teams that are really missing their fans at home, it's probably Marseille. But, in Liga, they still have 2 games in hand in 6th place. It's just, I don't know, they're such a force, but they're a quiet force right now, Jimmy, I think. But I think this is the game to watch, definitely from a betting perspective. It's part of your parlay, right?
It is part of my parlay. I have Marseille winning this game just for the reasons that I mentioned. Like at some point, this team has to do something. They have to show themselves. Otherwise, I think you fire AVB. Like he's seen all 3 teams in this group game, right? They've had 3 match days. They've played every single person. And if they cannot score a goal after 3 games, and there's no adjustments and there's no improvement in terms of the team and how they're moving in the team shape after having those experiences already against everybody else in the group, then you got to fire that guy. Like, just he's got to go. Like, he's clearly not making a difference to the team. They're not responding to any of his tactics. So that's where I'm a little emotional. I think you guys can tell. It's just frustrating to see a team that has the talent that they have to get handcuffed in this way. But I do think that there's going to be some pride. I hope that the players do step up and respond and just go and play with some fun, really. Just have some smiles on their faces and get after it and try to just score that first goal. If they can score that first goal, I think that will kind of unlock a little bit of emotion and belief. And I think they'll go on to win the game. And I think if they win and then Inter Milan beat Real Madrid, that's my parlay. That's plus 513. It's a bit of a flyer, but I think it's more than possible.
I love it. I love it. Well, there it is. Wednesday's action brought to you by the amazing James Benge and the amazing Jimmy Conrad. And James Benge will play the amazing Spider-Man very, very soon as well. See how I did there? Do you have the Batman game, by the way? Because that's my favorite.
I love the Batman games. Oh, I'm such a dweeb. I'm such a nerd for these games.
Oh, the Batman game is too good. It's too good. Hey, fellas, thank you so much. Enjoy the Champions League, and we will see you very, very soon. I want to thank Jimmy Conrad and James Benge for joining me today. Please, if you're listening to this on cbssports.com, you can also listen on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher, or wherever you listen to your pods. Make sure that you follow us on Twitter on Que Golazo Pod. Enjoy the games, and we will see you next time.